So here I am, back to continue with our huge geek review of HBO's Rome. Today we start the third episode of the first season, and it's called An Owl in a Thornbush. Without further ado, let's begin. Of course, in the last part of our review, Caesar crossed the Rubicon and officially declared war on Rome. And this is why this new episode starts with Atia getting out all the anger on her poor little slave Posca. Of course, it's very comical and in a twisted way from our perspective, and I love this type of cultural dark humor. So she says Caesar, the idiot, has ruined them all, while whipping Posca and everybody else just watching in the background. And then when she gets tired of lashing him, she just turns to her like a puppy and asks if that will be all. And then she just nods with indifference in her eyes, as if both of them automatically know that it's nothing personal, because it actually isn't. Because she probably imagined whipping Caesar or something, and they all get and accept the sick whims of her imagination. This is just amazing. The next amazing thing is the golden irony dripping from every line in the first and second scenes. Brutus and Pompey cannot shut up about how doomed Caesar is, just because he crossed the Rubicon with one single legion. The tasteful historical perspective of this kind is like that long-expected Christmas gift you get, which you totally know what it is, but they're still hiding it from you as a formality. It's a little weird now that I'm seeing it from a review perspective. Vorenus is back on his feet, on horseback even, having been stabbed in the previous episode. Reminds me of Arya getting stabbed in Bravos, but never mind. This is about ancient Rome, so I will allow myself to be a biased fanboy. Of course, Vorenus rides off with Caesar's order of what is to be done to the city during invasion, and he's all grumpy because he is a moral Republican. And once he leaves, Caesar and Antony discuss how stupid he is, and Antony makes the point that winners in wars have the final say in what's moral and not sinful. Then the real father of Valeria's baby comes over for a visit. It's such a realistic scene of love and adultery, and then conscious sacrifice of that love in the name of the well-being of everyone in the family. How can Hilaria Sand be such a good actress here, and then the opposite in Game of Thrones? People say it's the writing, but whatever. Let's not get there. I love the scene between her and her lover and her kid, seeing how the kid is being critical of her mom for allowing him to come. It totally busts the myth that our parents, and adults in general, are wiser. Age is not a factor if you're a naturally irresponsible asshole. And even this definition comes a little bit too strong for Niobe, because she's only a human like we all are. And this is me being philosophically influenced by Westworld, which is my new favorite show. And of course, I like how naive the kid is, wanting to tell the truth and believing her dad will understand, because he's her dad. So ahead of her time. But then Hilaria is culturally smart, knowing that he is fully capable and legally allowed to just kill them. Then we get the hot man talk about women. Vorenus has a question for Pulo, and it's not about his coital expertise. My god, I love this so much, applying completely serious terms without any sense of taboos or colloquialism to things sexual. It's like calling a vagina a member embracer or something like that. This is exactly the kind of cultural / historical / linguistic complexity of HBO's Rome that makes it so unique. Of course, Vorenus spills the beans that he can't, quote, tolerate his wife hitting on him while he loves her. Kind of like saying, she's the woman, she's obliged to love me. Who the fuck does she think she is, not loving me as an obligation and making me beg her like a slave? See how he's indoctrinated by the social attitudes of his time, in contrast to his wife's, timeless and innately human responses. Again, an opposition between societal factors and human nature. I simply love that. Vorenus is also afraid that if he dies with his wife hating him, there will be no one to honor him in death and, pour wine on his grave. Reminds me of my hometown, same tradition, still alive around here, even 2,000 years later. People putting food and drinks, not only, but also in people's graves and tombs and even the coffins. I'm not even kidding. I spent my early childhood mostly in the rural parts of Bulgaria, and these traditions are still pretty much alive, even though just, a stale and meaningless remnant of Christian formality. In the next scene, Atia notices that Timon is wearing perfume, and she notes that the smell of horse shit suits him way better. Okay, this kind of annoyed me a little bit. Somehow I'm noticing the overly implied verbal vulgarity of HBO, which in real life is nowhere near as abundant. But on second thoughts, who am I to bitch about it? I mean, I spew profanity as much as I breathe air, and also it serves to describe the lack of scruples in Atia, so I can allow myself to be a fanboy again and let it slide. Of course, Atia objects to Timon's advice against having a fucking party on the brink of civil war in the city. Like a true Julii, she will not be intimidated, and this is why we love her. Then, of course, she bends to Timon's will to pay him with sex. Because no matter how royal you are, once you go the whore way, people will inevitably start taking you and treating you only the whore way. And with this, I'm gonna cut this video because I want to make it kind of shorter. I will see you guys in the next part of the third episode of Season 1 of HBO's Rome.